What small thing do you do to punish people who are rude to you? Today I was being tailgated pretty hard. I wasn't driving that slow either. It was a 35 road and I was going 40. However, apparently, this guy couldn't handle that, so he started honking and tailgating me. He eventually went so far as to scream, "Move it, dick!" At which point I gave him a thumbs up and slowed down to 10 miles an hour. Considering it was an incredibly twisty road and there was no real way for him to pass, he got pretty angry, which was really fun to watch. For the next 5 miles. Edit. To clear up some stuff, the guy was driving a 2-seater. There was no sign of any sick or injured passenger. It was raining, and it very much flooded the shoulder. In other words, I couldn't pull over if I wanted to. Edit. Edit, as many people did point out in the comments, it is safer to drive slower if someone is tailgating you. If you can't pull over. If there's a short distance in between you and the car behind you, you should be slowing down anyway to give more time for a reaction in case of a sudden stop. Story 1. Once on my drive home through Forest Park in Portland, a long, winding road, a guy in some kind of tiny sports car pulled in behind me and seemed upset that I was only going 45 in a 35 mph zone. When I slowed, he took the opportunity to pass, ignoring the double yellow line and no passing signs. He gunned his car and was so entirely focused on me as he passed, he completely missed that I was slowing down for one of those traffic control speed bumps that ask you to slow to 20 km for a crosswalk. He caught air. There were sparks as he landed. He didn't crash, but I imagine that he crapped his pants in the process of recovery. Reply 1. A few years ago, a guy did the same in my neighborhood, but instead of a speed bump, he plowed right into my brother's friends as they were crossing the street. One of them died, knocked right out of her shoes. Every day that goes by and I see people driving like selfish a-holes makes me hate the human race more and more. Edit, link to Article 2. Everyone wants to know why the driver wasn't charged. I can't say, I really have no idea. What I can say, though, is that in NYC, there's an epidemic of drivers running down pedestrians and bicyclists and getting off without so much as a summons. It's turned into a war against drivers in the NYPD, and understandably so. As a driver, I think it's totally absurd. I'm sure you can Google "driver not charged NYC" and come up with a million links to fatal accidents in the past 10 years where drivers are 100% at fault, and there has been zero effort from the NYPD to press charges. Reply 2. Damn, I went from laughing at the other guy's story to feeling suddenly hollow inside. Sorry about your brother's friend. Reply 3. Once when I was 23, I lost control of my temper and tried to blast past someone driving intentionally slow in a neighborhood street. I nearly lost control of my car because of my recklessness. After I drove off, I stopped the car and thought about how I reacted and what could have happened if children were actually playing on that street. I think back on that momentary lapse of self-control very often and cringe at my immaturity. It helps me find my patience again anytime I start to get annoyed at people on the road. Reply 4. At least you were self-reflective and aware enough to think about your actions. Some people are either too ignorant or, sometimes, I think, physically incapable of being able to have that self-reflection. Edit. Fixed up misspelled word. Reply 5. Once I was at the end of my driveway with my 2-year-old son and saw this guy speeding up my street. He was going so fast that I instinctively waved at him to slow down. Seeing this, he slowed right down and stopped in front of us. I told him that he should be careful because there were a lot of kids in the neighborhood. He was pretty defensive and claimed that he wasn't driving all that fast and generally just gave me a bunch of lip. 5 minutes later, he came down my street again and stopped at my house again. I thought, oh great, this guy's going to be a real a-hole, but instead of giving me more attitude, he apologized and agreed that he was driving too fast and that he was just having a crappy day. Turned out better than expected. Story 2. I live where potholes are common in spring and fall. For tailgaters, I drive directly towards each pothole, then safely miss it at the last moment. The tailgater will not dodge in time and will hit it, quite consistently. Normally, tailgaters only avoid such hazards because they're glued to your bumper, and you're steering clear of bumps for both. It's very satisfying seeing them usually after 2 or 3 potholes at highway speeds, they back off to a safe distance so they can see them coming. Works like a charm and leaves them very confused. Edit. For those asking, I live in Atlantic Canada. There's a lot of changeable weather, and I think the constant freezing/melting cycles at certain times of year causes frost heaving and such to bring out the potholes. So yes, they do seem seasonal. Patched in the summer, but returning at the start of winter and the spring thaw. Edit. Thanks for all the feedback. For the downvoters, please consider that this approach of having the tailgater hitting a few hard bumps is a lot safer, IMHO, than suddenly braking, risking a collision, or driving slow to enrage them. I love the look of confusion when they're not sure who they should be angry with. Truly, it should be themselves for not giving enough space to spot hazards. This approach emphasizes that, and some may even learn that distinction. Quite often, they don't realize that the tailgated person is typically steering them clear of bumps. So when one stops doing it, they're not sure why they keep hitting nasty potholes all of a sudden. In any case, they consistently slow down. It almost saddens me when a road is paved over. Reply 1. A sporty, low-profile car was once tailgating my husband and I through a residential neighborhood. The guy was being an a-hole about it, swerving back and forth behind us right on the bumper, and just generally making us feel unsafe. My husband sped up to 30 miles per hour, and the guy stayed right on our ass. My husband didn't brake as we reached the first speed bump. We're driving a 444 and the shocks can handle it. Behind us comes a giant boom and some epic scraping noises. The car behind us bottomed out and lost many pieces of the underbelly in the process. Felt good, man. Reply 2. Oh god, I would pay to watch a video of that. That sounds so damn satisfying. All I do is drive slowly if someone is tailgating me, 5 under the speed limit. Reply 3. It was pretty amazing. I heard the boom, but didn't see it. Only the aftermath. My husband, who watched the whole thing unfold in his rearview mirror, says the guy actually slammed on his brakes at the last second. As he noticed the speed bump, further lowering the nose of the vehicle, he nosedived straight into that speed bump. Reply 4. I used to do the same thing in my 85 Crown Vic and my 70 Impala. Each was so softly sprung that they could take it with a little bouncing after. Tailgaters behind me would rage. Reply 5. Apply your windshield wash on the highway. The spray will mist over your car and hit any car close behind you. I've used that trick for years. Story 3. Using the emails of people that have wronged me to sign up to newsletters, mailing lists, porn sites, etc. Edit. Clarity. Reply 1. I used to do this in high school. When you had to give an email to get into free sites, I just pick one from a list of pricks at school. Reply 2. My buddy does that with mailing addresses. Signs them up for all kinds of free publications and has even gone so far as to pay for subscriptions to very questionable magazines. Think, Playgirl. Sure, it is kind of a waste of paper, but revenge can be so sweet. Reply 3. Tell him the next time he does that to put their name on it with the neighbor's address. That way his neighbors have to walk over his gay mag or Playgirl every month. Story 4. When someone gets in my face acting all pissed off, I talk in quiet, non-confrontational tones and say things like, how about we just calm down here? This makes them rage even harder. Reply 1. My favorite thing is to call them a cowboy. Example, calm down, cowboy. You'll never see anyone get more pissed. Reply 2. I'm using this. Or tiger. Calling them tiger could work. Or champ. You could go through a whole list of 1950s sitcom kid nicknames. Reply 3. Calm down is only effective when you say it at the perfect moment. It has to be the final spark that their mental powder keg can take. Reply 4. Anytime someone spills a beer on me at a party or bar, I say, I remember my first beer. Apparently, that gets under people's skin. Story 5. I can't think of anything in general. But as a specific example, a few weeks ago my work, a gas station, was having a fundraiser for local children's hospitals. I asked everyone who came through my line if they'd like to donate $1. Ended up raising a crap ton of money, which is nice, but I digress. This guy got into line behind a few people, talking obnoxiously loudly on his phone. He got up to me and blatantly ignored my friendly greeting, choosing instead to yammer on and on about how wasted he got last night, to whatever poor son of a bitch was on the other line. I told him his total, and he literally threw a bunch of 5s and 1s at me and mumbled, "I don't know how much is there, just put the rest on pump 6, before snatching his bag up and whirling around as I tried to wish him a good day. I can't effing stand folks that talk on their phones while being assisted. It really pisses me off. So, in a fit of insanity and revenge, I scanned in a $3 donation to the fundraiser and then put the rest on his gas pump. I got the sweet, sweet taste of vengeance. Sick little kids got money and the douchebag was none the wiser. It was a win-win-win." Reply 1. So, you pretty much stole $3 from a douchebag and donated it to charity? I like you. I like you a lot. Reply 2. I don't know how much is there perfect. I'm not going to count that. Or please count it. Just a passive-aggressive standoff that subtly says, "Bitch, do I look like a bank teller? You see any effing lollipops at the counter?" Edit. You people really like lollipops. Edit 2. This entire comment makes no sense whatsoever since I misread it as OP saying, "I don't know how much is there." I'd say I have no idea why this was ever upvoted, but I think we all know it was just for lollipops, which everyone loves, I learned. Thanks for the correction. Folks below? Story 6. There are a couple of just downright a-hole parkers at my job. One in particular drives a relatively small car and can't seem to grasp the concept of staying between the lines. I don't care how effed up he parks, I park next to him, as long as I can stay between the lines of my spot. I've had to crawl out the back hatch before, but the sense of satisfaction knowing he would have to climb in through the back of his car is so satisfying. Reply 1. My boyfriend, from time to time, is an a-hole parker, and it just boggles my mind. It's like he suppresses his inner douchebag, as he is a genial and kind fellow, donates to charity, volunteers at shelters, treats me wonderfully, supports his parents, well-liked by men, women, and children alike, etc. So much that every now and then it ekes out and he decides, F everyone, I'm parking like an asshat. I hate it. He gets mad when I steal the keys and repark the car, but I like to think it saved us a few smashed windows and keyings along the way. Reply 2. I thought my husband was the only man who has those moments. When he pulls one of his out-of-nowhere a-hole moves, I always explain to people that he is about to start his period, and his testosterone hormones are out of control. Reply 3. Some guy did that to me a week or two ago. Parked over the line, and I parked legally next to him. He comes out of the supermarket and realizes that he can't get into his car, and marches over to me with this, "You're going to have to do something about this" look on his face. I told him I'd be happy to move, but he needs to admit that he's parked like an a-hole. He says that we don't need to stand on principle. I say, okay, as he's pretty much defeated at this point. He then gets a second wind and tells me forget it as he crawls into his passenger side and drives off. Story 7. I live in an urban area doing a lot of road construction. People were tailgating, cutting each other off, etc. Basically a lot of road rage. It came to a head when 3 different motorists lost it and shot drivers they were angry with. After that, people began to calm down again. Be careful who you antagonize. Reply 1. So what you're suggesting is someone in OPS area needs to get shot to restore order. Bold and effective, I like it. Reply 2. Man, true story. I had an ex-girlfriend who liked to play Miss Road Rage. It was all fun and games until she, thinking herself invulnerable in her little pink roadster, cut off the absolute angriest, most maladjusted, flannel-wearing, lumberjack of a woman, driving a raised cab 4x4 with mud up the stacks, son of a bitch Oregon was capable of producing. Sally the lumberjack fished a large frame revolver out from under her seat and decided getting cut off by Barbie was one insult too many. Girlfriend and I got away from the situation with no additional holes. The Barbie dream car, not so much. One replaced spare tire and one body shop visit for the hole in the truck, and it was as good as new though. Reply 3. I'm liking Lumberjack in this story. What really cool is how she zened you guys into not calling the authorities. That's power. Story 8. I don't have any problem with people driving slowly, but for F's sake, stay out of the left lane. Eat it. Oh, and while I have a 1179-point soapbox to speak from, check your blind spots when changing lanes / every now and then to make sure you don't kill someone, and generally drive courteously. The only people I tailgate are left laners who are driving the same speed as the right lane flow of traffic when they have a clear path to merge over to the right. Rule 76. No excuses. Play like a champion. Get out of my way while I'm trying to get to work ahead of schedule, and reread the driver's manual when you get home, not while driving. Story 9. I work at a gas station, and whenever younger women buy cigarettes, they usually have their ID out before they ask for the cigarettes. If she is being a bitch, I glance at the ID when she isn't looking, and make sure she is old enough. Then when she offers it, I say, "Oh, I don't need that," and sell her the cigarettes. It pisses them off so much. Eat it, so not everyone sees why this is punishment. Basically, I am calling the people old without explicitly saying it. Also, some other small things I do to get back at bad customers. When no one is behind them in line, I double and sometimes triple check their change. Call women mom, ID people when they are clearly old enough, and make them take their IDs out of their wallet to scan, because it is store policy. Story 10. When people are rude with me or act like it's putting them out to help me, I pretend like I can't hear them and get them to repeat themselves as many times as I can. Reply 1. I'm almost 75% deaf, so this happens every single day whether I want it to or not. That said, it makes it real easy to piss off the a-holes in my life. Reply 2. People I used to work with, customer service counter at a large computer store in Australia, use this tactic to massive success. I've never heard the phrase, "So what exactly was the issue?" so many times before or since. Story 11. People that walk really slow and block the whole sidewalk piss me off, so I will cut around them and either walk really slow or act like I have to bend down and tie my shoe so they trip over me. Reply 1. I really hate when people stand in front of doorways and pretend like they can't see you when you're trying to get in. I need to bring more Rams with me when I go out and about. Reply 2. This. Then add in the part where you say, "Excuse me, please, I need to get by," and they look at you like you're the rude one. Reply 3. Or when two friends meet going opposite ways on a road and block it to talk to each other through their driver's side windows. Reply 4. I took my yearly trip to the mall last week and someone did that. 4 people, huge, walking around 3 feet apart. Enough so you couldn't get by. Of course, my kid, who doesn't know better, asked me why fat people always took up the entire walkway. They moved after that. Story 12. The highway code says you should slow down, so the slower speed means the gap between the cars won't cause as much damage if there's a crash. Story 13. When people rush onto a train/bus without letting people exit first, or otherwise block a doorway just to chat, I end up shoulder checking them. Not that hard as I'm only a 5'8" girl, but until they're at least out of my way. Reply 1. When people try to get into an elevator I'm trying to get out of, I will just cross my arms and stare until they move. 6 Iho. Wide shoulders works wonders for making them back up. Reply 2. I was at a hotel last weekend. Nothing fancy, a Holiday Inn, and got to the ground floor on the elevator. There was a Little League baseball team also at the hotel, and some of them tried to power through our stream, leaving the elevator. I walked slowly out and as wide as my skinny ass could take, effing entitled Rich Twats. Reply 3. There was a post a few days ago by a hotel employee about how crappy Little League teams are to have as guests. Apparently, they're all that way. Reply 4. Thank you. It's baffling to me that people waste more time to rush in. I casually trip people instead. Story 14. This morning, I was cruising along a country back road. Going 60 km/h, the speed limit. Cops are notorious for watching these roads. When I see in my rearview mirror this a-hole going like 90 km/h and tailgates me for about 10 minutes or so. He kept trying to get around me, but there was always just enough incoming traffic to make it a bad idea. He is right on my ass, man, but I just kept going to speed limit because F him, and I see a train going through up ahead, so there's no point in rushing. This guy gets in front of me, flips me off, and immediately starts pumping his brakes. I'm sure he thought I was just as pissed off as he was. Nope, just enjoying the drive and drinking my coffee, so I back off and give him some room. Wouldn't you know that once the train passes, he starts tailgating the next guy he is behind, and keeps trying to get past him. After 10 minutes of driving the speed limit, this guy finally gets his chance to get in front of the car, going the speed limit. He starts pumping his brakes for the next guy, trying to be an a-hole. Then you see him start speeding again, and then he hits a red light. Like the rest of us, I'm just keeping my distance, watching this unfold. It's pretty funny watching road rage as long as it's not directed at you. Reply 1. Top fave part is when these a-holes just have to get past because they're in such a effing hurry, and then you pull up next to them at the red light. Those are the times I wish I had a top hat to tip to them. Reply 2. The thing is, you can never know whether you'll hit a red light or not. If you barely make it, you feel amazing. If you barely miss it and everyone catches up to you, you feel like an idiot. Reply 3. Cops are notorious for watching these roads. Dude, come on, you can't just set up a comeuppance like that doesn't come. Story 15. If I'm getting tailgated, I use the water from my wipers to splash their windshield. Works every time. Reply 1. If you mean wipers, then I do this too. Way to get them to back off without them shooting you, or trying to run you off the road. Story 16. I work at a cafe. If someone decides to be a jerk while ordering, I secretly give them decaf. Couldn't really think of a worse punishment, personally. Reply 1. A friend of mine works at a coffee shop. She told me she and her coworkers do this too. If a customer is crappy to the person at the register, they'll write FGD. EFF gets decaf on the cup, and the person making drinks will happily oblige. Reply 2. My coworker gives decaf to people who keep repeating their order condescendingly when you ask them a simple question, such as size. Reply 3. I always love that. Large, double extra hot. What kind of milk? Large, double extra hot. What kind of milk? Sigh, and on it goes. Reply 4. We always had a look when it was time to decaf someone. Last thing you want is someone figuring out what FGD means. Story 17. I also do the slow down thing when being tailgated. Additionally, whenever I get honked at for anything, I smile and wave, pretending that I think they're honking because they know me. I wonder how many think I'm retarded. Story 18. This one isn't my own invention, but my daughter's. She is quite a precocious child, and has been speaking in complete sentences before she could walk. Anyway, she's 5 now, almost 6. And yet very occasionally adults insist on baby talk when they address her. I don't know if it's purposeful. I think so because she's quite devious when it suits her. Or not, but she gets a quizzical look on her face and then addresses the adult as if they're stupid. A typical exchange? Last week at the grocery store. Grandmotherly figure. Oh, and look at you, you little princess. How precious are you? And what a big deal you are. Oh yes, you are. My daughter, extremely slowly. The 8 years old, who miss I am. Yes, I am a big girl. I snickered the whole way home. Sometimes the adult remains clueless and the exchange goes back and forth for quite a bit. Afterwards, my daughter usually turns to me and says something to the effect of, Mommy, it's rude to ignore people that talk silly like that, right? Because they can't help being that way? Yes, honey, that's right. Story 19. When people park poorly, I will intentionally park next to them, no matter my inconvenience, to be perfectly in my sport while making theirs difficult to get into. One time there was a BMW SUV that parked into the space next to it, so I parked perfectly in my spot. This left the owner with about an inch to open his door. The next day, same problem, same solution. Since then, he parks in the lines every time. Mission accomplished. Reply 1. You never get your car scratched? I saw a car once that wanted to park in the last spot left, but right before he gets it, some guy in a sports car drives in at 30 mph and steals the spot. They get in a fight and start yelling at each other like crazy. Eventually, the guy in the first car gives up and drives away. The guy from the sports car walks away, but then he stops and looks at his car. He decides he doesn't want his car scratched and gets in and drives away. In the end, Noon gets the spot. Story 20. I was being heavily tailgated on the way back from school in May by a crappy Corolla or something. It got to the point where I could no longer see the headlights of their vehicle. Fortunately, it was about 11 p.m. on a dark and straight road with absolutely no lights around. I had toyed with my brother earlier by turning off the lights for a split second on a straightaway, and the area fell into complete and utter darkness. So naturally, I decided to use this to my advantage. I gradually slowed down to about 7 under, and finally the opportunity for the tailgater arrived. They sped up to pass, and as soon as they were slightly in front of me, I killed all the lights. I could see the road perfectly due to their lights. The two ladies in the car were frantically looking for my vehicle while trapped in the other lane, afraid of re-entering into the side of my vehicle. When they started to move over, I honked frantically. They were trapped in that lane for about 7 seconds before I turned my lights back on. No harm came of it outside of some brick crapping.
Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you want to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.